It's apple picking season. And
Yeah, one of the
I'm
best
going
things
through a
about
lot
fall.
of apples. Yep. And this year is, I think it's the best year for apples that I've
Oh,
had
they
from my
are
tree.
scrunchy.
They're delicious.
Scrumptious and scrunchy.
They naturally come this way. They look kind of foggy, but that's all right. They polish up really nicely. So you just rub that off and they're shiny underneath that.
It's kind of like grapes get that
And
sometimes.
we've already watched watched this before and reviewed it, and we're going through it another time because it was
It's
fun.
just so much fun.
Yep. And we've already went through Boston Legal, and now we're going to review these two seasons. So season 3 and season 2 of Arrested Development. And I would highly recommend that people watch that whole series. It's really excellent.
Yeah,
So,
recommend to everyone who comes from a dysfunctional family, which is everyone really, from
Yep.
what I've seen.
so I don't know really what to say about it. It's so great. It's there's a lot of actors big name actors who I don't want to spoil who's in it.
Yeah, that's part of the pleasure.
Yeah.
Just saying, who the
It's
heck
like,
is that?
oh wow, you know, and they're, I mean, movie quality.
Movie
actors.
star quality.
Yes, I
There's
mean,
at least one movie star there that turned up, right?
well, much more.
Okay, at least
I'm
one
not
is
gonna
all I'm
talk
saying.
about
So we're not going to say.
I
who,
mean,
so.
right away.
There's one I can think of today that we saw today.
A Very Beautiful Woman.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's also these. You know what? It's okay. Just watch it.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
watch it.
That's
It's
part
so
of the
worth
pleasure.
watching.
It's just seeing who turns up.
And you can borrow it from your local public library
Hopefully.
if you happen to live in Alberta.
Okay, there we go.
You
Yeah.
could borrow
It's in
it
the
through
system.
TAL if
Yeah.
TAL
It
is up
continues
and
after
running.
COVID.
I don't know if TAL is yet. I'm going to check into it, but I don't know what with the kids back at school and everything. I don't know if you want to be using the public library to access your DVDs this way. You might want to just, if you have the internet, you can stream things.
Yeah, we
off the
don't.
internet.
So
We don't have the
that's why
internet,
we
so-
exercise this option. It's a lot cheaper for us. That's
Well,
how we
no,
get
you can
by.
borrow things from the library. Like there's books for e-readers and stuff like that you can get from the library.
Okay.
So you can get you can access things like that through the publicly funded system. So I would have to recommend that
Sure.
in times like this because. But at the same time, I don't recommend that everyone has a home computer. So.
Well, it's expensive, and there are security issues. With
It's
it.
not only an absolute waste of money. It's an absolute waste of money to have a home computer. Honestly, nowadays all you do is you rent programs. You don't even get, like it used to be, you got Microsoft Office and it was on your computer, and you might want to get a newer edition, but that was up to you. You still had, you know, that old one was on your computer forever if you wanted to. But now it's just, you rent it. So,
It's a way they make it more expensive.
yes.
Yeah.
And really, the computer itself, you're just renting it. When you're buying technology, you're renting it because it's going to be garbage. And you know it. Once
Really,
yeah,
something.
it happens quickly.
How it might be 10 years or less down the road.
Mhm.
It's just garbage. No one
Yeah.
wants it. You know.
But at the same time, I think that right now, if the government really cared about its citizens, then they would be looking into producing some sort of computers for students, and they'd only have access to student sort of things, and if they use the computer for other, like try to hack in to get internet access for other things or whatever, then they'd end up, it would be against the law, so they would face criminal charges. So I think the government needs to look into something like that to try to keep the publicly funded education system running during COVID. Because it's already, there's been some breakouts, and
I think the last
not
time I heard,
not looking good.
26 or 29, including one school in Lethbridge, across Alberta, have had breakouts, and I think that involves. Well, we got to be careful. We'll say at least one. We shouldn't say breakout, but incidents, because they define breakout as two unrelated cases in a school. To me, that's not important. What's important is there something in the school?
Incidents of it occurring in the school?
It's got to be communicated in the school for it to be a breakout.
This is my 7th apple today. That's the thing about apple season. I mean, I've put recipes on if you want. You can make psyllium fiber patties, which are, you can shape them into patties, or you can make them so that they're, either way, I toast them in the toaster. So it works out. So they're sort of like eating it's funny. In this, this is one of the funniest things that I've seen in a movie or in a TV show. When Ash was talking about his daughter, how she knew how to make a Pop-Tart. He said, wow, these things are way better toasted, or something like that. And realized they were so. And then later on in the series, in the season, he said something like, you can't, I can't lose my daughter. She's the best cook this family has ever had, because she knows how to toast a Pop-Tart. So that was so funny.
I can just see him saying it too.
Yeah, it was
this
so good.
inimitable manner.
It's worth hearing again
awesome.
and again. So gosh, I can't wait until the next season, but let's hope that COVID gets cleared up so that they can safely produce another season for us. And
many more,
because it's so great. It's so great. I love seeing him.
Bruce Campbell, if you're watching, thank you, buddy, for many hours of relaxation and pleasure. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, now this Boston Legal season 4, I swear this says it's from 2007. Is that right? Anyway, yeah. And this is volume 1. This is the first 2 discs that we watched, and basically, I think that the American government and the Canadian government perhaps have used that season, the stories of that season, to play, okay, how are we going to work COVID and distract away from COVID and all this, because honestly, there's I can't remember which season it was. Which episode it was. But there's one episode where there's a guy talking about the elderly and pensions, or
Oh, it's been an issue for a long time. And so it's
like, that's been an issue for a long time, and right away, that's. I'm sure I wasn't the only one saying it, but I haven't looked into it across the internet to see how many people were saying, they're wanting to kill off old people, to save on pension.
Now, the weird thing is they've been killing older people than the people that they've been targeting. So there's been talk about what happens when the baby boom gets to pensionable age. It's going to be awful. This might go back to even the 80s. But I think I started hearing about it in the 90s. Okay? So a generation they've been talking about. What happens? It's going to ruin the system. Okay. I ran across this one quote from some writer. Don't confuse the facts with truth. And of course, writers are supposed to be just plugged into truth. They're not. Don't confuse fiction with truth. All you find out when you're reading a writer or looking at an artist is definitely not how to think. Not even how to feel. You find out how one person feels. Is that valuable?
Or perhaps
Possibly.
a group of people
Yeah,
working
well, if it's a
on
movie,
on
then
yeah.
it's a group of people,
Yeah,
and there
because
it's
it's not
harder
just
to
one
find out how one
But
person feels. So, what were we talking about again?
COVID, the ageism thing about it's worse than
Yeah.
ageism.
So it's important to know the facts. All right. What has happened is, the baby boom was a huge boom, but people die. So when you actually look at the number of people that will, what will happen with the healthcare system and the welfare system, whatever, a pension system and stuff like that, it's just a little blip. The baby boom going through. And guess what? The baby boom was just a wave.
Man, that was delicious.
And so how is that going to ruin the system for good? You see the thing? You get this blip coming through the system.
Some of them are much bigger. Apples. That's fine.
You get a blip coming through the system, and then it's gone. And then the system isn't stressed out anymore, even if it were. So that's the important thing about that. It was, of course, right when you're saying, oh man, it's going to ruin the system. And of course they're saying, for all time, right? Can I fool you that way? That's what happens when you get Madison Avenue involved in these kind of things. But so it has been an issue, and I'm afraid this COVID thing has come at the end of it, and at the end of this, like old folks are the enemy because they're going to ruin a variety of systems and stuff like that. And unfortunately, it looks as though it's got some
traction.
lefties. Yeah, even with lefties, who cares?
I was gonna say we went walking today, just around the neighborhood because I'm scared of walking in the parks on the weekend
because of social distancing, and then
because people don't necessarily show social distance,
and then mountain bikers.
And anyway, so we were just walking around in the neighborhood and a lot on the street, and we saw a pear tree, and there were plum, and there were plums all over the ground. They were just, nobody was picking the plums, and it was on the boulevard, so it's a city tree, but I didn't want to, it's in front of somebody's house, so had they been out, I would have asked them, but I'm not going to go to somebody's door during COVID.
It's kind of rude.
Yeah.
I think people should stay away from other people's property.
Exactly.
Off of it.
Yes. But, so I think those plums will probably go to waste because I'm not going to pick them without asking.
Yeah.
But I was surprised at the fact that, I noticed when I was harvesting my cherries, I didn't have people harvesting this year. There was one person who came to ask me if he could do a trade, and I was like, anyway, so, but that was nice of him to ask, but anyway.
It's highly unusual. Most people they're saying, you're not doing anything with those cherries.
Well, if they...
Let us do something with them.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, most people don't. Most people just pick what they want. But
most people actually just come.
Yes, but this
steal
year
stuff.
they have not, is my point. They haven't picked